Alrighty, we're continuing our review of Unit 3 of my AP Psychology class, which was about sensation and perception. We're going to start off with smell. Smell? Olfaction is the scientific name for smell. Smell bypasses the thalamus in the brain because it is a primitive sense. We don't have a distinct receptor for each detectable odor, and smells have a huge power to trigger memories. Body, position, and movement. Kinesthesia is the system for sensing the position and movement of individual body parts. The vestibular sense is the sense of body movement and position, including the sense of balance. The inner ear contains the biological parts for your sense of equilibrium. Sensory interaction. Sensory interaction is the principle that one sense may influence another. For example, when the smell of food influences the way the food tastes. Embodied cognition, the influence of bodily sensations, gestures, and other states on cognitive preferences and judgments. For example, holding warm water produces warm feelings. Consciousness and sleep. And when we learned about sleep, we actually got to take a nap in class. It was great. Yeah, that was a pretty fun thing. Alrighty. Consciousness and sleep. Consciousness, our awareness of ourselves and our environment. For example, daydreaming, drowsiness, dreaming, hallucination, orgasm, food or oxygen starvation, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and meditation. Hypnosis is a social interaction in which one person responds to another person's suggestions that certain perceptions, feelings, thoughts, or behaviors will spontaneously occur. EEG and EMG machines are used to study sleep. The circadian rhythm is the biological clock, regular body rhythms that occur on a 24-hour scale. Being very young or very old changes our circadian rhythm. A full cycle lasts 90 minutes. A full sleep cycle lasts 90 minutes because your circadian rhythm controls more than just when you sleep. It also has to do with when you get hungry and stuff like that. But a full sleep cycle lasts 90 minutes, and you go through 4 stages of sleep in one cycle. REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, is a recovering sleep stage during which vivid dreams commonly occur. Paradoxical sleep, and muscles are relaxed, but other body systems are active. Alpha waves are present when you are awake, the relatively slow brain waves of a relaxed, awake state. Sleep, periodic natural loss of consciousness, as distinct from unconsciousness resulting from a coma, general anesthesia, or hibernation. Stages of sleep. Stage 1. Perceptual window to the outside world is shut. Stage 2. More deeply relaxed, 20 minutes. During this stage, sleep spindles begin, which are bursts of rapidly rhythmic brainwave activity. In stages 3 and 4, slow wave sleep happens, and they take 30 minutes. Delta waves are the large slow brain waves associated with deep sleep. REM sleep characteristics: getting aroused, fast short breaths, rapid eye movement. Aroused does not mean sexually, it just means that your body has activated your sympathetic nervous system, but in a not abrupt way, like gradually. Hallucinations are false sensory experiences, such as seeing something in the absence of an external visual stimulus. So, if you see something but your eyes are shut and you're not sleeping, that is technically a hallucination. And also sometimes when you're really drowsy, you can think that you see something but it isn't there, and I believe that's also technically a hallucination. As night goes on, stage 3 grows shorter and disappears, and we spend 20 to 25% of an average night's sleep in REM stage. Newborns sleep 2/3 of their day, whereas most adults sleep no more than 1/3 of their day. I'm not an adult, I'm a teenager, but for the past couple weeks, I've been sleeping 12 to 14 hours a day, which is, I don't know, but I've also been being awake for 12 to 14 hours a day, so I'm sleeping about half of my day. like I said, my sleep schedule is kind of effed up right now. Suprachiasmatic nucleus. Suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, a pair of cell clusters in the hypothalamus that controls circadian rhythm in response to light. The SCN causes the pineal gland to adjust melatonin production, thus modifying our feelings of sleepiness. That's why, even though it's dark outside, because my bedroom lights are really on, I'm not super sleepy. But even if it was daytime, but I had my lights off and my windows covered, I would be more sleepy. Reasons sleep may have evolved. Sleep protects us. Sleep helps us recuperate. Sleep helps restore and rebuild the fading memories of our day's experiences. Sleep feeds creative thinking, and sleep supports growth. The effects of getting too little sleep can be depression, feeling tired and irritable. It can increase the chances of you gaining weight. It can, I have makes you fat and makes you stupid, but there's probably more way to say that's more polite and scientific, but that's basically what happens. Suppresses your immune system and slows your reaction time. Some sleep disorders. Insomnia, which is reoccurring problems with falling or staying asleep. Fretting about insomnia makes it worse. Quick fixes can be sleeping pills and alcohol, but they don't actually work long term. Narcolepsy is a sleep disorder characterized by uncontrollable sleep attacks. May lapse directly into REM sleep at bad times caused by genetics and correction, ? Which is literally what I have written down. Checking my other notes. Doobie-doo. Yeah. Maybe it's supposed to say overexertion. I'm really not sure. I actually had a friend that had narcolepsy, and he fell asleep while he was riding his bicycle and then crashed. So, I don't recommend, not that you can help it. Sleep apnea is a sleep disorder characterized by temporary cessations of breathing during sleep and repeated momentary awakenings. It is caused, or warning signs of it, include obesity, loud snoring, daytime sleepiness, irritability, and high blood pressure. My dad had sleep apnea, and so does my grandma. Night terrors are a state of high arousal and the appearance of being terrified. They're seldom remembered. They usually affect children, and it occurs in the beginning of sleep stage 3, where sleepwalking also occurs. A dream is a sequence of images, emotions, and thoughts passing through a sleeping person's mind. Hallucinatory imagery, discontinuities, incongruities, delusional acceptance of the content, difficulties remembering it. Sensory stimuli that occurs while you are sleeping can be woven into a dream story. For instance, if your alarm goes off in real life, but you have a few seconds of a dream in which the alarm is going off also in your dream. The story, the movie Inception actually got that pretty well. Freud's dream theory is that dreams are a psychic safety valve that discharges otherwise unacceptable feelings. We dream to satisfy our own wishes. And according to Freud, manifest content is the remembered storyline of the dream, and latent content is the underlying meaning of the dream, but most psychologists dismiss Freud's theory. We dream to file away memories, to develop and preserve neural pathways, to make sense of neurostatic, and to reflect cognitive development. Rem Rebound, the tendency for REM sleep to increase following REM sleep deprivation. So I used to date somebody that did not get a lot of sleep, and that was partly because they had insomnia and partly because they didn't give a fuck. And they fell asleep at my house once, and we were literally just laying next to each other for 2 to 3 minutes, and they were fully asleep, and I had to actually shake them to wake them up, and they were only asleep for 5 minutes. So, yeah. Then we are moving on to psychoactive drugs. Don't use them. Substance use disorder is continued substance craving and use despite significant life disruption and/or physical risk. Some symptoms include impaired control, social impairment, risky use, drug addiction. Some psychoactive drugs, or the definition of a psychoactive drug, is a chemical substance that alters perception and mood. A drug's overall effect depends on the biology of its effect and the psychology of the user's expectation. Tolerance, the diminishing effect with regular use of the same dose of a drug, requiring the user to take larger and larger doses before experiencing the drug's effect. Addiction is the compulsive craving of certain drugs or behaviors despite known adverse consequences. Withdrawal is the discomfort and distress that follows discontinuing an addictive drug or behavior. You can go through withdrawal from stopping binge eating, which is technically an addiction, or you can go through a withdrawal from trying to stop doing something you're addicted to, like if you're addicted to playing video games, if you're addicted to porn or addicted to having sex and you stop doing that, you can go through withdrawal like you would go through withdrawal from stopping doing a drug, because both of the types of drugs stimulate your brain to send you feelings of feeling good, and you need more and more of the thing to make your brain feel good. And so when you don't have that thing, you feel really, really bad. Because, yeah. So, a depressant drug is alcohol. Alcohol is not a stimulant in small doses, even though some people think it is. It is a disinhibitor, which means it slows brain activity that controls judgment and inhibitions. So, the reason that you might take one shot before you go to ask a girl out or something at a bar, if you are old enough and, 21, etc., is because it makes you feel more confident because you have lowered inhibitions. And so you're not as anxious about things, but it doesn't actually stimulate you. It depresses your immune system and your other systems. Biologically, alcohol relaxes the drinker by slowing the sympathetic nervous system, and it can disrupt memory formation, long-term effects on brain, and cognition. Alcohol use disorder. Alcohol use marked by tolerance, withdrawal, and a drive to continue to problematic use. It reduces your self-control, and if people believe drink will affect them in a certain way, it will. So if you go into drinking a whole bottle of beer thinking that it will make you dumb, like if you'll be thinking you'll be more stupid afterwards, you actually will be more likely to be more stupid after drinking it. And I think I stopped writing there, but there's actually more. So let me just grab my other notebook. So barbiturates are also depressants, but technically they're tranquilizers, but they are still depressants. Barbiturates are drugs that depress the central nervous system activity, reducing anxiety but impairing memory and thoughts. They're commonly used to induce sleep or reduce anxiety, but the effect of large doses can impair memory and judgment and actually lead to death. Opiates are also depressants. Opium and its derivatives depress neural activity, temporarily lessening pain and anxiety. Some examples of opiates are opium, morphine, and heroin. The long-term price of opiates is tolerance, addiction, and withdrawal, but also they're just not good for you. When you take an opiate, your brain stops producing endorphins, and endorphins are used for happiness and reward. So if you don't have endorphins, you can't be happy physically, mentally you can't be happy. So going through withdrawal of opiates creates super bad depression. Then we have stimulants, drugs that excite neural activity and speed up body functions. And within the category of stimulants, we have amphetamines, nicotine, cocaine, methamphetamines, and ecstasy. So, amphetamines are drugs that stimulate neural activity, causing sped up body functions and associated energy and mood changes. I'm trying to turn the page without ripping it. People use stimulants for feeling alert, losing weight, boosting their mood, and boosting athletic performances. Nicotine is a stimulating and highly addictive psychoactive drug in tobacco. Cocaine is a powerful and addictive stimulant, producing temporarily increased alertness and euphoria. And the neurotransmitters that are affected by cocaine are dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. Methamphetamine is a powerful addictive drug that stimulates the CNS, central nervous system, with speeded up body functions and associated energy and mood changes, reduces baseline dopamine levels, and meth triggers dopamine, the neurotransmitter dopamine. Ecstasy, or MDMA, is a synthetic stimulant and mild hallucinogen. It produces euphoria and social intimacy, but with short-term health risks and longer-term harm to serotonin-producing neurons and to mood and cognition. Physically, ecstasy triggers dopamine and serotonin release and then blocks the reuptake. Hallucinogens, or psychedelic drugs that include LSD and marijuana. Hallucinogens are drugs that distort perceptions and evoke sensory images in the absence of sensory input. LSD is a powerful hallucinogenic drug. Marijuana, or THC, triggers a variety of effects, including mild hallucinations. The nicknames for synthetic marijuana are K2 or spice, and it is very, very dangerous, and we should never, never do it, is what my teacher wrote in here. But I mean, I very much agree with that. And some effects of marijuana are difficulty thinking, impaired body movement, psychosis, impaired memory, amplifies sensitivity, relaxes, disinhibits, produces euphoric high. Smoke hurts lungs like regular smoking, impairs thinking, memory, learning, functions, and how brain builds connection. Breathing problems, increased heart rate, problems with child. That's what it says. But what diseases is medical marijuana used for? Problems with child development during and after pregnancy. Intense nausea and vomiting can worsen schizophrenia patients. What diseases is medical marijuana used for? AIDS, glaucoma, and cancer. Whew, that was a long segment.